KRMB Chops 5502122, National State Brazil, Rio de Janeiro Federative Unit, City Saquarema. We will kind of have our conversation, which is a follow-up. And if you take a look at the blog Risk Report 2022 Trace February.blogspot.com, you will check maybe that we have kind of very conclusive posts in these last 48 hours. First of all, if we have a budget failure, and I could use this budget to support an accusation and for control, which is the reason as a budget. It means that the use of the budget, or as a structure, a state, a god, I don't know, as a misusage or used by wrongdoings, is something possible, and goes by intent, which implies the motivation of the user. Second thing that we will have in mind, that by this I'm not a criminal, because I use to control the criminal inside this budget as a motivation, and the budget is kind of a debt structure, like the state. And by obvious, the interest on my guilty are kind of, maybe according with the kind of motivation presented at my duty. The third thing that we will have maybe is that we are having the follow-up of this situation in Ukraine, Russia as a simulation. We will use a model as a simulation. The first, argument that you have as a checkmate was, are you holding any kind of list storage as something? Because there are no guarantees as outlaw. The second checkmate, I would say, was, if we have a separatist movement, the movement as being separated must have self-determination on it as motivation. If you do not have this, you kind of can consider the separatist movement as something with sovereignty, but it's maybe a fraud, an illusion, or any kind of hoax. And the third thing, which is another checkmate maybe, we are kind of invited new to have a Italian restaurant, maybe on Kiev or something like this. But sometimes, things are made in a rush, and this for sure it's no good, because let's suppose, and indeed we have limited resources on economy, considering all things are limited. Even your argument as creative argument to support the abusive procedure against a single citizen by an entire conjuncture. If this conjuncture must be according and ruled by law, why you are using all arguments against the law to strike my research, which indeed was a strike back presented as a self-defense model and industrial portfolio. It's the regiment of law, but you do not follow the law. And comparative measurement, I would say, as the separatist movement without self-determination, how can you have the continuity as outlaw inside the system ruled by law? The thing that we have now is something like this. We have limited resources, including the capacity to be in an area, I would say. We had the situation like this. Since you evoked me, here I am. Uh, Simulation by Venn diagram. We have the area Ukraine, we have the area Russia. By Venn diagram, they are different things. Kind of, they claim themselves national state with their own sovereignty. And in a very specific moment, we had, an intersection. This intersection is here, kind of. It doesn't matter if something that goes as an agreement or it's a concurrent field of interest between two both as an intersection. And from this intersection we have the complement as the relational Venn diagram, which is two separatist movement inside this area, which is the A. But if those areas kind of are related, are linked with, and indeed they coming from this area, which is the Venn diagram as concurrent interest, indeed they took advantage of this, setting a concurrent area inside here. It means here I have lines, here I have columns, here I have crossed columns and lines. And here I will have an empty space as crossed and lines inside the concurrent interest. You have the mobilization inside the segment or sector lines. And when you make the invasion or something like this, you kind of had for sure an empty space on your environment. I will have this like this. I will have the separatist movement which comes from the area as concurrent interest, which is the intersection. And to be inside the area as, Ukraine, it means that you have a gap inside the intersection. And the decreasement of association as intersection is a reality now. And if this come to the side here, as a separatist movement or something like this, in the same way maybe is taking advantage of here and such a gap in your space by the mobilization and transference of your military force to cover this activity. And you have a bubble here. If you have the continuity of this, it's the same situation when you had struggle, I think, with the France, something like this, that you push them to very the deep inside geographic space, and Russia, which was in this a very hostile environment, and they kind of drop dead by the cold. Here you have a gap internal by limited resources. If anyone come from any other area pushing you, you kind of will be with a, Italian restaurant inside Moscow. Maybe it's a mistake as a strategy. And the third, Nobel Prize. Right? Have a nice weekend and carnival. By the way, the money used to cover the seizures must have a payback, because we put these, if you hold something illegal, and you must request, doing a regression, a petition, or something like this against who have this and put you highlighted holding this money. If you suffer a seizure and we by goodwill offer you a money to cover and have the stability of your bank system, it's very near to an investment. You must offer a payback, and this payback it's not necessarily by money. It can be influence, it can be something like this. Italian restaurant in Moscow maybe. You are playing the game, you know, and the game is played.